Okay, hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Tanks Blitz. We're here going to be doing another review. I am a bit ill, which is why I will most likely sound differently and be coughing a lot more than normally. But anyway, we're here going to be having a look at the new Tier 8 premium heavy tank, the IS-2Sh. I'm not quite sure why it's called the IS-2Sh, but I think it has something to do with the name of the designer, most probably. But it looks like it was based off of, it looks like it used the IS-6's sort of chassis, but with the IS-2 turret and gun and a more sort of sloping turret or sloping frontal armour. And a rear-mounted turret, similar to... Oh, let's get that back up. There you go. Similar to this thing, the VK-4502B, except slightly less armoured. But anyway, so let's have a look at this. 66% protection, 58% firepower, 80% shot effectiveness, and 34% manoeuvrability. So, to start off with, 1500 HP, which is sort of on par with some of the lowest lowest health tanks in at Tier 8. The IS-3 Defender's got 50 more with 1550. The T-34 has got a buff. The T-34 Independent's got a buff to 1600. The IS-6 has got 1470. The Mutant has got 1500, and the Glacial 112 has also got 1500. And lots of these tanks, well, basically all of them don't have the improved assembly for plus 5% to vehicle HP. But so it's sort of a fair comparison because this doesn't either, because well, you need to unlock these things, and I really don't like the new system that they have for the equipment. I honestly have no idea why they decided to redesign the equipment, but maybe I'll make a different video on that. But anyway, so it's got one of the lowest amounts of HP at Tier 8 for a heavy tank. However, the armour is pretty good. 130 at the front, 100 at the sides, 60 at the rear of the hull. Turret armour, 170 at the front, 90 at the sides and rears. And you may be thinking, 130 at the front doesn't seem that great. And, well, no, it isn't. But look at that sloping. It's the same as the IS-6 has only got 100 frontal hull. But this is sloped up. And we all know how tough the IS-6 is to penetrate from the front, unless it's sort of like at an angle like that, where you can shoot into this nice big side of the hull. Or if you've got the lower glacis. But yeah, so you see the IS-6, and that definitely does only have 100 frontal hull. And then we take a look at the IS-2Sh, which has got similar sloping, maybe not quite so steep, but it's still a pretty steep angle, and it's much thicker, 130. I was about to say 130 miles an hour, but no, it's much thicker with 130 millimeters. Plus, it doesn't have the flat sides like the IS-6's hull, which are these things. It doesn't have that. Instead, sort of slopes around, which gives it a much smoother look. It looks sort of nicer rather than the sort of squares of the IS-6. But also, it means that those technically sort of count as weak spots, but they're not quite as easy to penetrate as they would be on the IS-6, because, well, they're not as flat. As you can see, they do indeed slope around. The sides and rear of the hull, not that great. The turret armour, however, 170 at the front, compared to, well, for example, the IS-6, which has got 150 frontal turret, but then it does have 150 side turret. But compared to, let's have a look at the IS-2 right here, which has only got 100 frontal hull, frontal turret armour rather. So it means that this thing has actually got very good armour from the front, at least. So yeah, the armour is pretty good, if the hit points are a bit on the low side. And the manoeuvrability, not quite as bad as you may think. Only weighs, it weighs, sorry, 53.42 tons, but it has a 700 horsepower engine. The Tiger II, for example, weighs 70 tons, and that only has a 700 horsepower engine, which means that, the Tiger II has got the same engine power, but it weighs weighs just under 20 tons more than the IS-2Sh. For example, the IS-6 has got 700 horsepower, but it weighs 51.50 tons. So it's got comparative manoeuvrability, maybe slightly less than the IS-6. However, it does mean that it goes at a brisk 42 kilometers an hour. The degrees per second, however, is not that great. 26 degrees per second for the hull, which is alright, but then still pretty slow. And the turret traverse speed is also very slow, with 20.86 degrees per second. For example, the Tiger II rather, has got 20.86 degrees per second turret traverse and 29.13 hull traverse. The IS-6 has got 27 degrees per second hull traverse and 20.86 traverse speed, so it's looking pretty similar to the IS-6. And you'll probably find that a lot. It's sort of like a slightly reconfigured IS-6. And we'll skip the gun for now, because I always like coming to the guns last. And there you go, 700 horsepower engine with a 12% chance of fire and impact, which, it's alright. There's, of course, the turret, weighs a lot, and it has a 240 meter view range, which is, yeah, alright. There's a suspension with a 58.40 ton load limit. But now we come to the gun. Now you'll notice that this gun is a 122 D25TA. And, the Russians like that gun. The premium Russian tanks definitely do like that gun. For example, IS-3 Defender gun, 122mm D25TA. IS-6, with the upgraded gun, is a 122D30, because it's slightly different. But Glacial 112, Chinese, but again, sort of based on the Russians. 122D25TA, but it doesn't have the better penetration because it doesn't use APCR as standard. But what else we got? Russia. I don't know why it's defaulting me to America, but still. Is there another? No, there isn't. Well, I suppose there aren't. But the Russians like giving the designation 122D25TA because, why the hell not? But it's got a 4.47 rate of fire rounds per minute, which compared to, let's get it, IS-6, which has got a 4.55 rate of fire. I've completely forgot for a moment now what I was doing. But the average penetration is pretty similar. 221 with APCR as standard, 270 with heat, which is premium on this, and 61 with high explosive. And the average damage, 400, 400, 500. Yep, standard 122 gun damage. 0.41 dispersion, 5.9 second aim time with, that much weight. But yeah. So, the gun is looking similar to, for example, the IS-3 Defender, which has again got 221 penetration with APCRs, 270 with heat, and 61 with high explosive. And the same sort of average damage, slightly more accurate, but with a longer aim time. So, yeah, and that's even with the enhanced gun lane drive, so yeah. But what that means is that the gun is pretty decent. It's got decent penetration for the tier. The average damage is good. Russian accuracy is, not surprising, 0.41 accuracy, but the aim time, better than some of the other Russian guns. For example, let's have a look at the IS-6 again, which has got a 6.8 aim time. The Glacial 112, which has got a 7.1 aim time. Jeez. KV5, which has only got 107, but still a 5.5 second aim time, so the aim time is not that bad for a Russian tank, really. For a Russian 122, it's not that bad. And that sort of covers everything on here. Now we come to ammunition. It stores 40 rounds inside the tank, which is a fair capacity. Glacier 112 carries 45, IS-6 carries 30, IS-2 Defender carries 28, standard IS-3 carries 28, so it's got a decent ammunition capacity. And considering that you're only firing about 4.5 rounds a minute, and the battles only last for 7 minutes, you'll probably not run out of ammo unless you're firing continuously, and the battle lasts for a full 7 minutes. Then we got provisions, so you got standard fuel or improved fuel for +2 or 10% respectively to engine powered turret traverse. Then you got condensed milk and extra combat rations for +3 or 10% respectively to crew mastery. Then you've got the protective kit, which is 15% protection of crew from injuries, 10% speed and module repair, 20% fire protection, and 10% ammo and fuel tank durability. And all those are, you know, their own things. I only really mount them on things where they'll make a real difference, like for example, a certain tier 7 tank destroyer, or indeed a certain tier 7 medium tank. But other than that, I sort of tend to not. I just hoard my credits. As for consumables, you've got the standard repair kit, first aid kit, fire extinguisher. Then you've got the engine power boost, 20% engine power for 15 seconds. And then you've got adrenaline, which is 20% low speed, 10% chance of damaging enemy vehicle modules for 15 seconds. Then you've got the multi-purpose restoration pack, which is all these things combined into one. And the reason that I go with all three of these things, as I keep saying in every review, is that say you have your engine power boost, your adrenaline, and your multi-purpose restoration pack as your three choices, and you get your track splitting off. You use your multi-purpose restoration pack. It's now burnt because you've used it to repair your track, and it's now got a cooldown of 90 seconds. 10 seconds later, you get hit, and it penetrates, and it sets you on fire. What do? You can't put it out because you've used your multi-purpose restoration pack, and all you've got is adrenaline and engine power boost, which means that you'll keep burning, which is why I prefer to go with the standard repair kit, first aid kit, fire extinguisher. The only times that I really go with adrenaline is for something like the E25 or the T23-3 because, well, they have fast firing guns, and you sort of want that rapid fire with those two things. But other than that, big things like the IS-2Sh, I just sort of don't tend to not bother. As for the camouflage, I've got this, the imperturbable. Is that imperturbable? I don't know. Imperturbable is what I'm going to call it, and it's just the special war paint for the IS-2Sh. It doesn't change its name to IS-2Sh Imperturbable or anything, it's just IS-2Sh, but still, it's a fun war paint. It's the same sort of, it's a bit like the war paint for the CDC, it just sort of makes it look nice, and, well, yeah, there's that. So, then, we come onto equipment. Now, they changed around all the equipment, which means that it's going to take you forever to actually get any of this stuff mounted. But I would suggest gun rammer, protected modules, improved optics, enhanced gun lane drive, definitely, and then your choice of improved assembly or enhanced armour really probably doesn't make a difference. Then you'll want to go with improved control for plus 7% to top traverse speed of the vehicle, which will obviously increase the traverse speed, which is always nice. Then I would go with refined gun, minus 5% to dispersion, and then I would say enhanced tracks maybe, and then your choice of either of these, high-end consumables or the consumable delivery system, which I'll probably go with this one. Because I tend to not use engine power boost or adrenaline, but if you go with either of those, then you can always mount them. But yeah, I really don't like this new equipment. As for the crew, can't say anything because, well, yeah, you know, the crew skills work differently in Blitz. But yeah, so that is the IS-2Sh, the new premium vehicle in World of Tanks Blitz. It looks like a capable heavy tank, and we'll have to see how it works in combat. So thank you for watching and goodbye.